Did Yuji make a binding vow with his grandpa to live? Shout out to Elijah for this question. And I know it says love down here, but that's a typo. It's supposed to say live. And I don't think so. I don't think any type of binding vow is taking place here because a binding vow, especially between two people, needs to be very intentional and consensual. So, what I mean by that is both parties need to know what they're getting into and deliberately agree to it. This is one of the reasons that breaking a binding vow with another person carries such a harsh punishment that even the strongest characters in the verse are afraid to do that. So a binding vow couldn't happen just in the vagueness between the lines here. There would need to be like a direct vow made. So I don't think a binding vow happened, but what's interesting and a lot of people think is possible is that the grandpa actually was cursing Yuji here. Now, probably unintentionally, but perhaps even intentionally, because words carry a lot of weight in JJK, especially last words or dying words. And as we can see here, he tells Yuji to help people. You're strong, so help people whenever you can. Don't expect gratitude, just help them. And when it's your time to go, make sure you're surrounded by others. Don't end up like me. And I mean, curses come up this way a lot in the series, even explicitly with Yuji, right? In Nanami's final moments, he's contemplating what to say, and he's like, I can't say that. It'll just end up becoming a curse for him. And then he does say, Itadori, you've got it from here, which kind of places this burden on Yuji, right? He has to deal with this. He has to carry this torch forward now, which could be a curse for him. You know, he's got responsibility now that has been given to him by Nanami. So similarly with the grandpa, those final words could end up being a curse for Yuji. Again, I think it would be unintentional if so, but you know, those words could come back to bite him. Help people. Like instead of living a normal teenager's life where he maybe could have been happy and, you know, probably not given everything we know, but you know, he instead becomes a jujutsu sorcerer and is faced with all this extreme trauma and, you know, don't be like me, help people die surrounded by others. Well, you know, at least his grandpa died of old age, you know, just in a hospital bed pretty peacefully. If Yuji is not like him, maybe he's going to pass away really young in a horrible way, you know? Obviously, you could interpret the grandpa's words however you want to kind of twist them into being cursed, but I certainly think that's possible. Next up, we got this question from Hey Kevin, and he wants to know how sorcerers know which hand signs they need to do to activate their domains or which words they need to say to enhance their techniques. So this is something that's largely unaddressed in the series. You know, it's probably somewhat of like a personal journey to figure these things out, but I will say, at least for the three big clans or techniques that are like passed down from generation to generation, there are literally guidebooks to help people figure them out. Like Gojo references this in his fight with Toji, or excuse me, I think maybe Toji references it because he's studying up on what Gojo can do. So, you know, there's a lot of information out there. So if you are born with the 10 shadows like Megami, people in the Zenin clan are probably going to help you and teach you exactly what to do because that technique has existed for so long. But for people not in big clans or for people who have a curse technique like that's existing for the first time ever, they just got to figure it out, you know? So it's probably like, yeah, they probably are creating it themselves at the end of the day. Like there isn't some like, they're not just sitting there trying different things, I bet. It's just probably a product of, you know, honing your technique. But on a meta level, Gege uses a lot of symbolism in these things. So for example, Sukuna's domain hand sign is called Inmiten, which is one of the deities in Buddhism. And it's actually kind of like, not like akin to the devil, but it's like that type of evil deity. And Gojo, similarly, his hand sign is symbolic of Buddha. So there's a lot of that type of stuff in the story. Next up, we got this question from Emog, and he wants to know, who do I think would win in a fight between Rika and Yuta? And let's consider that copy is Yuta's curse technique. So unfortunately, I think Akotsu's getting clapped like 8 times out of 10 here. Depending on which version of Akotsu we're taking, like if we take current end of manga Yuta, like maybe he can sneak out some wins on Rika, but still, Rika just has a huge advantage here because most of Akotsu's strength comes from Rika, you know? And even if we give him the copy technique, he really can't use it to its full potential because Rika is the reason that he can store extra techniques. So Akotsu would only be able to use like 2 or 3 techniques if he didn't have Rika. And I just think she's going to be too strong. She has too much power. Yeah, I just think she wins 8 out of 10 times. Next up, I had this question from Taurus that asks, are Hanami and Mahoraga related? So no, they're not. They do look kind of similar. They're both very monstrous, and they both like have weird things instead of eyes. But no, they're not related because Hanami is a cursed spirit, a disaster curse representing humanity's fear of the earth and nature, right? So Hanami was created by a coalition coalescence of cursed energy from humanity, representative of those fears, right? Whereas Mahoraga is a shikigami, not a cursed spirit, and just part of the Ten Shadows technique. So any resemblance they share is just coincidental, just aesthetic, right? They don't have any actual connection. Then keeping on the Mahoraga train, we have this question from Creative, who asks, why didn't Mahoraga just go straight for Haruta to end this ritual instead of taking the fight with Sukuna? So I think there's a couple of reasons for this. And, one layer of just like meta is that this was the direction the story needed to go. KK wanted Sukuna and Mahoraga to fight. But also, we never got like an explicit blueprint for how this ritual works. It's not as if, Mahoraga must solely focus on the people explicitly drug into the ritual. That's how the ritual ends, yes. But, if Maharaga's life is being threatened by outside parties, he's probably going to, put his focus on the people that can actually do something to him. Haruta wasn't a threat, right? And Sukuna was literally up in his face, starting beef with him. So he could have maybe made a beeline for Haruta, but at least in Sukuna's case, Sukuna wasn't going to allow that to happen, right? Sukuna was powerful enough to prevent Mahoraga from doing that. So maybe Mahoraga could sense that and knew that going for Haruta would be fruitless. Or maybe it's just, hey, this dude's right in front of me trying to start shit. Like, let's take care of him first. So, I can't give you like a specific canonical answer, but I think it's basically those things. Then for your second question about Yamata no Orochi, that is this figure from Japanese mythology that is like an 8-headed snake. And Sukuna draws the comparison because in the mythology, it basically is immortal. Like, it just keeps coming back. So similar to how Mahoraga is adapting and not being taken down. So I don't think we'll actually see that entity in JJK, but like in universe, in canon, perhaps that is like a legendary cursed spirit or something. But Sukuna could just be referencing the actual folklore, the same as in the real world. But yeah, I don't think we'll see it in the show. And then we've got one more Mahoraga question, and this one is fun from A. He wants to know Mahoraga versus SCP-682, aka the hard to destroy reptile. So I actually love SCP. For those of you that aren't familiar with it, it's kind of this writing experiment, like this kind of like contributive canon where everybody can participate. Anyways, look it up if you're interested. But yeah, 682 is no joke. So honestly, like, this may be a stalemate where neither one can kill the other, but if anyone's gonna win, it's gonna be 682, because like 682 is functionally immortal, more so than Mahoraga, I would say. My only question is if 682 can do anything to kill Mahoraga before he adapts. Like, he's gonna get in some good hits, but Mahoraga is gonna adapt, right? So I do think it's possible that 682 has something that could just take out Mahoraga in one hit, but it might be a stalemate for a really long time. But if I had to pick a winner, 682 for sure. And then finally, I'm going to throw in this Demon Slayer question from Kashimo, where he wants me to rank the Hashira by strength. And I've seen 90% of the Demon Slayer anime, and I haven't read the full manga, but I've seen like random stuff from the manga. I've read some of the last chapters. So my Demon Slayer knowledge is weird. It's not complete at all. And it's, not as deep as JJK at all. So as always, take everything I say with a grain of salt. And I think Kashimo just likes to get me to power scale stuff because he knows it's going to make people mad. But yeah, I'll just give you my ranking, but, don't put too much stock in it. All right, coming in at number 9, we've got the Insect Hashira. Here's where people are going to get really mad at me. Number 8, Tengen. Badass, one of the coolest moments in the anime, but he never got the Demon Slayer mark, and he needed a bunch of help to take them down. People are still going to be mad. Number 7, Rengoku. Again, one of the coolest characters, one of the best moments of the anime, but no Demon Slayer mark, and really, Akaza was just toying with him the whole time. Number 6, the Love Hashira. Coming in number 5, we got the Mist Hashira, and I think he's got a lot of potential. He's so young, but for now, number 5. Coming in number 4, we've got the Snake Hashira. Coming in number 3, we got my boy Giyu. And at number 2, we've got the Wind Hashira. And then, of course, Guillaume at number 1. That's going to do it for this one, y'all. Thank you all so much for the support, and if you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching.